Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And we're going to be talking about Global War 39 here, and there's going to be a number of different steps that I'm going to throw into this, but I'm just going to shoot some short segments and splice them all together and give you an overview of some of the different rules and some of the nifty things in 1939 that I didn't cover when I was doing my gameplay video and some of my strategy thoughts. I thought I would leave it until after I had gone over all that other stuff, because each nation can take advantage of a lot of the things I'm going to speak about, and I didn't want to repeat myself ad nauseum. Being a teacher, I do try to keep things as streamlined as possible. Not always successful, but we do what we can. So right off the hop, we're going to talk about something that every country can take advantage of, and that is technology. And there is a nifty tech chart that comes with the game that I print out in full color. And we'll just kind of take a closer look. Maybe there's chart 1, you can see here, and then there's chart 2, and there are very different things in each of them. The chart 1 is dealing with mostly ground forces, and the chart 2 is dealing with the air and some naval forces and options. Okay. Now the way these things work is very simply is on your turn you will roll a die, and you, according to the rules, it's $3. So I'm going to read out what the rules do here. So it's $3, and you get a die, and you can roll one die per technology. But you can do as many different technologies as you want. And then you just add up those numbers, keep track of the numbers as you go on a separate sheet of paper, and then when you reach the target number, you have that technology. So for instance, we look at chart 1 here, and under Germany we have advanced artillery tactics. So you would roll a die. You purchase for 3, you roll your D12, and you would get that much closer to getting advanced artillery tactics. When you reach 14, then you have it. And basically an advanced artillery tactic is that one artillery can now boost 2 infantry up. So instead of just 1 shooting at a 3, now it would bring up 2 to shoot at a 3. Remember, this is all D12. Alright. So that's how technologies work, and you can see that some of the numbers are much lower. For instance, the radar. We can see that, you know, Italy and some of these other countries have to roll quite high, but the Commonwealth, they only have to get to 8. And that's just because essentially they started with it. And radar, what that is, it's not so much radar as much as it's better radar, but you can defend at a 4 or less. On a D12. I'll just tell you what each of these are here. So the rockets, your AA guns, can shoot up to 3 spaces away, and they shoot at factories or air and naval bases. The advanced mechanized tactics, you get +1 to the attack and defense of all mech units, so that's pretty handy. Advanced infantry tactics, same thing, all infantry is +1. And heavy tank gun, you get +1 to attack and defense for all armor. So you can, the mechs is for your mech units, the infantry, and then the tanks going across the top there. Again, you can see that some of them are having to roll pretty high to get there, while others are a little bit more advanced. Look at chart 2, we're getting up into the air now. And jet fighters are +2 to their attack and defense. The long-range aircraft is +2 to movement. Heavy bombers, you roll 2 D12s instead of 1. That's near the end of the game. And as you can see, you've got to pour a lot of money into that, because you got to get up to, I mean, the minimum is the British at 48. So you got to really work to get up there. Your improved factories, all land units are -1, all aircraft are -2. And you're thinking, what about the boats? Well, that's where the improved shipyards come in. Carriers, battleships are -3 cost, cruisers -2, and all other ships are -1. And the war bonds, on your collect income phase, you just roll a D12 and collect that much more money. So a lot of similarities to 40. and a few new things as well. So that's technology, and we're going to move on to another phase momentarily. Alright, moving on here, we're going to talk a little bit about Europe and some of the specifics in Europe to make sure that everybody has a really good understanding of the opportunities, the possibilities, and also some of the things you really should do. So starting with Germany, remember Germany does get a second impulse. I won't go into the whole thing with Germany there because that's on the German strategy video, and you also see it in my gameplay video. So go ahead and take a look at that about the second impulses. But there's a couple of things that you really should do as Germany in order to avoid horrible things happening around the world. One of them is you really need to take Paris. And for those who aren't familiar with the second impulse, and you see that there's the territory Reims between Western Germany and Paris, the Germans get to do one attack, put on a build, and then do another attack. And you can see the Western German industrial complex. You could throw 10, well, maybe not 10, but a good number of tanks and mechs on there and take Paris on your second impulse, because Paris is very lightly defended. Not many units at all, 4, 5, 6, 7 units plus an AA gun. So once you get through, you're typically okay. You typically have a couple of infantry left, and then off you go, and you take Paris. When you take Paris, then of course you do all the rolling for the ships, the various naval pieces around the board, as well as all the French territories around the world, whether it's in Africa or Asia or wherever that happens to be, islands off in the Pacific, islands like Corsica here off the Italian coast. All of those things get rolled for. If they become Vichy, they're pro-Axis, and the Axis can use them to land on, they can use them for money, all the rest. So it's really, they're really beneficial to the Axis. And if they are Free French, then that money will go to the UK. So in the last game we had, all the money spots here went Free French, so good for them. But back to Germany. So Germany really needs to take Paris. And then some people say, well, if they're taking Paris, what about Holland or possibly Denmark? Can they take those? Well, yes, you can. Holland only has 4 units, and you can take that out. Just send some of your aircraft at it, maybe some infantry if you want to build some. You can put 10 units down in Western Germany, and you really should have enough to take out Paris and Holland on round 2. If you don't take Holland on round 2, of course, then the Dutch will collect an income, give most of it to the Brits, and build just a few more units that you'll have to kill next turn, which of course you should be able to do. But if you don't take Paris, something interesting happens. And a little tip of the hat here to Rich Jerstad, who, I hope I pronounced your name correctly there, Rich, who commented on a previous video that if Germany doesn't actually take Paris, what happens with Italy? Because in the rules, Italy does not enter the war until Paris or London is occupied by the Germans. So if the Germans do not do that, Italy remains neutral. So if at the end of round 1, Paris and London are still in Allied hands, the Italians will not be attacking anyone or anything. They can move things around, but they simply cannot declare war. Mussolini was waiting, I guess, for Hitler to strut his stuff before he threw his hat in the ring. Everybody knew he was going to be siding up with Hitler in any sort of a conflagration that may happen, but it wasn't official, of course, until the French surrendered. So Rich asked, well, could not then, if Paris has not fallen, so if the Germans decide to take their time, and the reason they would take their time is if they go through Holland and then attack Reims, the fortification in Reims does not come into play, and so it's much easier to punch through. And you'll take a lot less losses, and the fortification will just disappear after you take the territory. So yeah, you'll definitely save some units going through there, but Again, you won't take Paris. France will have a build. I think the French only have $10 or maybe, I think it's only $10. Forgive me, I don't know right now. They don't start with much, maybe 15. And they'll be able to build stuff with that. And that'll just make it tougher for them to take Paris. So typically, the wise play is for Germany to take Paris on round one. Also, if you don't take Paris in round one, all these French boats will come and kill your U-boats. So, yeah, you want to take Paris as soon as you can. But again, if they don't, the big if, then Britain can absolutely take infantry, excuse me, from down here in Africa and boat them on up and activate Greece. And when they activate Greece, they get those boats, so they plump up their navy a little bit. And of course, they get the 4 men and the mech there in Greece. Well, that can cause some problems for Italy, but it's not the end of the world because Italy's probably going to have to fight those guys anyway. Meanwhile, Germany has probably activated Hungary and Romania. Okay? They probably have done that. But the rules stipulate that Romania can be activated by the Germans, no problem, and Hungary can be activated on one round by using one of the mechs there in Czechoslovakia. You just, on your non-combat moves, slide them through, you activate all that, get all that money, get all those troops for your own use. But you cannot attack outside of your territory until you're at war with Russia from Romania. Okay, no attacks can come from Romania or Romanian units until at war with Russia. So the Romanian troops here cannot help you attack Yugoslavia, which is pretty huge because they're the biggest stack around. They got the only plane. Bulgaria, which won't get activated till turn 2. Alright. Or till the end of the second impulse, that is. They cannot be made until Greece is controlled by an Axis country, which isn't going to happen for a little while. And at war with Russia. Okay, so 2 things have to happen before Bulgaria can attack outside of her territory. Now, nothing says that Romania and Bulgaria can't move into position. So the Romanians could move south into Bulgaria, the Bulgarians could move north into Romania, however you wish to do that. But you cannot attack outside of your borders until that time. Okay. And as far as Hungary goes, no attacks can come from Hungary or Hungarian units until Yugoslavia is controlled, okay, by the Axis. So either Italy or Germany has to dispatch Yugoslavia. And if we look at Yugoslavia, there's 5 guys playing artillery and anti-aircraft, of course. And they have a destroyer there, just ready to cause some sorts of grief. And so it's important for you as Germany to punch through Yugoslavia as soon as possible. Okay, when you punch through Yugoslavia, you free up the Hungarians to go have some fun, and you can bring stuff down at that time to go take care of Greece. So what Rich had posited, pardon me, was that we could land in Greece as the British and then take those troops plus anything we brought up from Greece or from Africa, pardon me, and put them into Yugoslavia and make a real mess of things for the Axis. 100% accurate, can absolutely happen. I wouldn't recommend it because the Germans will have a stack of tanks by the end of turn 2, and they'll just come down there and crush it, and then they'll just walk into Greece. But hey, you know, you can certainly try. We know that because the Italians failed to take Greece, the Germans lost a bit of their timeline getting into the Soviet Union, and maybe they would have made it into Moscow by the time the winter hit. Who knows, right? So maybe that's part of the plan of this game, is to make that happen. Also remember then that Poland, Warsaw and West Poland, the Germans can take, whereas the Russians can take East Poland and the Baltics. Okay? So that's it for that little update there. I just wanted to let you know what goes on in Europe proper. And don't forget, if you are Germany, if you set aside $5 from your initial buy And if you roll for Marseille and it goes Vichy, you get a free armor and a couple of infantry. You have to spend the $5, so I guess it's not free, but instead of spending 12, you're spending 5, and they're not coming out of a factory, they're actually going to be right there in Marseille. So that is a definite a plus for the German player. It's a good option. And don't forget Finland. Go ahead and activate Finland, get your guys up there and fight. And you can fight with German troops, Russian troops, anybody up there in Finland without declaring war. It's just considered to be all Finnish action up there. Okay. All right, so we're going to carry on with a little bit more in just a moment. That's the European theater. Again, post any questions or comments that you have about this, and we'll let you know what goes on in a moment. Okay, now it's going to be just a brief overview, a little flyby of the setup charts. Not going to go into all the units or anything, but I'm just going to show you the differences that go on here with production and the starting IPCs. So some of them are considerably different, and the Axis are kind of the biggest ones. So you see that Germany, $52 is what they start with for cash. So they can build quite a bit on their first round. They're going to get some money from France as well and from territory. So they're probably going to end up with some good money, but they'll on their second turn they'll probably have less money than they have at the start of the game because they start with a 52. And again, Germany only has one tank to start the game. So there's that. So they tend to pour a lot of money into tanks and into U-boats that they will be replacing. Then as we look at Japan, we see that Japan has 41 production. That's pretty healthy, but they only have 30. Well, that's because Japan is an absolute monster at the beginning of the game. They have tons and tons of ships, planes, veteran troops, veteran fighters, and they can do whatever they want. So $30 on the first round just to slow them down a little bit, but on the second round they'll probably be collecting over 50 with their bonuses. And it really depends on what they do with the money islands. So Italy, they have production of 26, but they start with 15 because they are in a neutral stance at the start of the game. So they're not really on a war footing at all. All right, so as Italy, you don't really start with an awful lot. You got a good fleet, but that's about it. Just got a few men on the board and a few planes, but one tank, one artillery. Yeah, you kind of suck. But the point of that is then your first turn isn't going to be very powerful, but you're not going to lose anything on the first turn unless you choose to attack, which you don't always have to do as Italy. You can, but you don't have to. Okay. Now the Axis miners chart is right here. And the Axis miners, they all go on the first turn with Germany, and I'll just zoom in right here and you can see how much money they each make. So they make a little bit of money, and the special rule is essentially this: Romania and Bulgaria are worth that much. They can't get any more. Anytime they take something, it actually just goes to Germany. And Argentina has a fixed income of 3, but it has to get activated, of course, by having the Germans or the Italians head down there. Pretty rarely happens, but I have seen it happen. And when Argentina gets activated, usually Brazil's been activated, and then things kind of spiral out of control there because the Brazilians can typically get more reinforcements from Africa, whereas the Argentinians are kind of on their own. So not a huge theater of play, but there is $7 up for grabs in these territories. All right. So that's the Axis miners and the Axis majors. Now we'll move over and take a look at the Allies. Okay. So we're going to look at these two charts here. There's Russia, and you see Russia has a production of 48, but they only start with 15 on the first round. And then remember, with Russia, you're going to be rolling 2 D12s, and that'll give you your income for the next round. and then you build on that with 2d12 dice rolls until you're at 48, and then you can declare war. Until that time, you cannot declare war unless you have been invaded. All right? And if you get invaded by Japan, so off here in the east you get invaded by Japan, that does not put you at war with Germany. Likewise, if you get into a war with Germany on your western front, then you're not at war automatically with Japan. After you're at war, you can declare war, but you're not automatically at war with both Axis powers, Europe and Pacific, unless you want to be. Because, I mean, face it, I mean, that's a lot of red, right? So it's almost like you're fighting on two different planets. So you just have to decide as Russia, as the Soviet Union, who you're going to declare war on. But you don't have much money to start things off. You got 15 bucks. And then you're on the dice. So if you roll pretty horribly, you might only have 6 or 7 bucks to spend on your second round. So just keep that in mind. And I've seen a lot of people not buy anything, because there really is no need to buy anything unless you're going to be going after Finland. And then you'll need some stuff. Here we have the Commonwealth and Canada. And the Commonwealth and Canada, they start with 35 bucks for the Commonwealth, and Canada is 10, which is its actual production. Okay. Then you have South Africa, which just gets 3 bucks, and it doesn't increase. If it goes up, then that money goes to UK London, but it cannot increase its own economy. And it basically, South Africa just puts on a troop every turn. You can save your money though with South Africa, and you can build, but you can only build, I believe it's 1 unit a turn. It could be 2. I'm going to look that up and get back to you at the end of this video. United States. Now you have to watch my US video. They start with 20 bucks. Their production is 80. They have the potential to make 80 bucks a turn, but they're only going to be making 20 on their first round. And after that, they're doing the dice roll same as Russia. You roll 2d12s, add them up. When you get to 80, you can declare war. And China, you can see, produces 12 and starts with 12 bucks as well. France has a production of 20. They got 20 bucks worth of stuff all around the globe, but they only have 10 bucks. And that decision was made probably so that when Germany takes Paris, they're not getting 20 bucks extra on the second round. And over here with Far East Command and Anzac, Far East Command, again, not really prepared for war in India. They thought that they were protected by the distance and by the invincible Royal Navy, and the massive base at Singapore, and the mountain ranges in Burma, and they just figured they'd be safe, but that didn't work. Anzac, on the other hand, is very similar and will get 10 bucks, and they make 10. So the very same as Canada. Then there's some bonuses to be had with the various countries. The last chart I'm going to show you is all about the neutrals. Now these pro-neutrals, there are some different house rules you can bring in. And those are the strict neutrals, pardon me. The pro-neutrals, very good rules for them. Essentially, it's just like in 40, where if they're slanted one way, they're pro-Axis, so you can walk in and activate them. Or if they're slanted the other way, they're pro-Allied, so you can walk in and activate them on your non-com. And then if the lines are straight up and down, they're strict neutrals. Well, in this game, the pro-Allied countries, such as Iran, which actually declared war on Germany in 1943, they are similar with the Greek, the Yugoslavs, the Brazilians, the Liberians. All right, so all these green ones here are all pro-Allied. And then the pro-Axis ones, there's not so many of them. So, you got your Iraq there. And then you've got your, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, that we've spoken at length about, and Finland. So, but looking here, you got the setup sheets here. But the pro-neutrals, all right, so you see all the different spots that are pro-neutral. And you can see the Dutch have quite a bit of stuff around the globe. Those are the money islands we all know and love. And here's a little interesting point. So for all the pro-allied, Axis, pardon me, and pro-allied neutrals, armies increased by 1 infantry every 2 turns. Sorry for the shaking, folks. That's it's tough to zoom in on that. Let's try it this way. I don't know if it's any better. But these extra infantry are placed in the capital territories of each neutral country. So every time we have turn 2, turn 4, turn 6, turn 8, places like Tehran and Iraq are going to get an extra infantry. Alright, you're just going to plop them down there. So they can become a bit of a going concern if you leave them too long. But, you know, a couple infantry are obviously not the end of the world. But if you're wanting to take them over, you might as well do it early. Now, an interesting country is Siam. Now, Siam is pro-Japanese. And they are very handy. You can activate them at any time with the Japanese, and every turn they get 1 infantry. Even the turn, or every turn starting after they've been activated by Japan. So Japan usually activates them right away. There was a rule that said they can only be activated on turn 2, but in the latest version of the rules, you can go in there, it looks like on turn 1. It says they can activate Siam at any time, but no attack can come from Siam until Japan is at war with the UK Commonwealth. Alright, so you can't activate Siam and then use the Siamese troops to go after French Indochina and Saigon. Alright, but the extra $3. And you can also build a factory there. You can build a minor or a major. When you build a major, that means then that Calcutta and Sydney can also become majors. Well, I think Calcutta is already, but Sydney can become one. No, Calcutta is a minor, pardon me. But then they can reply by making themselves majors, and they can build capital ships if Siam builds a factory. So, you know, with the rise of power just kind of shooting out of nowhere there, you got to let the Allies respond, and that's how the rules do that. All right. Now looking at the strict neutrals, the strict neutrals work differently in 39 than they do in Global 40. In Global 40, you know, for instance, Sweden and Turkey are both strict neutrals, so if you attack, say, Turkey, if you go and attack Turkey in 40, then Sweden and all of the other strict neutrals become pro the other guy. Alright? So if you're Germany and you attack Sweden, then Turkey would become pro-allied, and the Russians could just waltz in and get that free 8 infantry. Nice bonus. Well, in this game, the strict neutrals just kind of work on their own. They are not really tied into anybody. They are definitely strict at staying neutral. They don't want to take sides, and essentially you just, you know, once you take the capital, everybody else just stands and fights. Okay, so for Turkey, for instance, you know, you're trying to get into Turkey. If you're going through the Bosporus here and you go into Istanbul, you're going to be fighting a fort and 4 guys. Okay, plus they do have a fleet there. So the fleet, it's just a destroyer and a coastal battleship, but you still have to kill that before you can unload your guys. And then when you go to take Ankara, you're going to have some problems, right? But once you do that, you know, once you're into Istanbul, then let's say you come in as Germany and you take Istanbul, well, the French guy here could now just walk into Ankara and activate it, and that money would go to the British, and they would defend Ankara. Probably not well, but they would defend it as best as they could and enjoy the $1. Now there are some very interesting little rules about some of the strict neutrals. We'll start with Turkey, since we're on there. It says Turkey will become pro-allied when there are no Axis units in Africa and Greece is under Allied control. Alright, and this has happened numerous times actually. If Italy can't get its act together and push the French and the British out of North Africa, there have been a number of times where the British then load up and just send guys into Greece to make it theirs. because then instantly Turkey becomes theirs as well. If Turkey becomes theirs, then they can go into the big bad Black Sea, all right, which obviously gives you access typically into the German rear and cause them grief. So this is a very important piece of land here, and the Axis, you need to be aware of that Turkey will become pro-ally if you let Greece fall into Allied hands and there's no Axis units in Africa. Moving on to Spain. Spain's an interesting one. As we know, we had the Republicans and the Nationalists fighting over it in the Spanish Civil War. That'll be covered in greater detail, of course, in the 36 videos. And what happens with Spain is they'll become a pro-Axis neutral if Paris has fallen, which happens, of course, and the Axis controls any two of Leningrad, Stalingrad, or Moscow. So basically, if the fascists are beating up the communists, then the nationalists and Chinese will rise up and take care of business. And that'll become a pro-Axis. And typically then you'll have an Italian or a German unit just saunter in and activate all this stuff. Now, they don't have a ton of stuff on the ground. I mean, it's not bad. They got a couple of planes, you know, not too shabby. They got a little tank there. But they also have a sizable fleet. So they've got 2 battleships, they've got a sub, and those are all coastal. But then they've got a transport and a destroyer that can cause quite a bit of grief for anybody trying to get into the Med. So that's an interesting thing for Spain. And I've seen German players forego Moscow and just go after Stalingrad and Leningrad. And the Russian player backs off, trying to, you know, can't protect both. So they say, well, we'll protect our capital. And Spain falls. So just something to think about. The last thing we'll talk about is Sweden. And Sweden, of course, is a strict neutral. But they will become pro-Axis if Norway, Finland, and Moscow are under Axis control. Alright, so Norway typically is pretty quickly, as is Finland, but then they got to punch through to Moscow. So the Russian player, you're a big target for the Germans for more than just simply trying to wipe you out. You're a big target because they can scoop some nice cash, and Sweden's got a nice navy there. So you can take that, take the men, and whatever you want to do with them, right? So that's important to know as the Germans. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's all I'm going to talk about for now, and I'll be right back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Japanese and their first turn. Pardon me, not their first turn, but their sneak attack and what that all entails, because a sneak attack can really make or break the first half of your game for Japan. If you use it well, you're going to have a big smile for about 10 hours as you just clean house. But if you kind of fritter it away, yeah, you're not going to be such a happy fella. And there are some interesting rules about where Japan can and cannot go and finish its movements, but there are definitely some places that Japan should go if they want to do their opening attack against the Americans, their surprise attack, sneak attack. And we'll talk about that more right away. All right, thanks for watching.